Let me tell you about four people. Ramesh is 67. He worked in a government job for 30 years, lived frugally, never bought anything he could not afford in cash, and put every extra rupee into something safe. FDs, LIC policies, a plot of land in his hometown, and the family home he built brick by brick in the late 80s. By every measure people in his colony used to judge success, Ramesh had arrived. The home was his, the land was his, and his children never went without. Sunita is 51, two kids in good schools, a solid career in a multinational, drives a decent car, takes one international holiday a year, and has a lifestyle that makes her WhatsApp profile picture look like she has figured it all out. She has been earning well for over 15 years. Then there is Arjun, 36. He came up during the startup decade, watched his friends get Infosys and TCS offers, watched some of them get rich quick and some of them get burned. He pays his EMAs, eats at good restaurants, takes weekend trips to Goa and Coorg, and has a vague anxiety about the future that he quiets by booking the next trip or opening a new app. And finally, Priya, 23. She has a fintech app, a SIP of 1,000 rupees a month, a reel about her investing journey, and a Stanley Cup. She's the most financially aware 23-year-old in her family's history. Her grandmother did not know what a mutual fund was. Her mother found out at 40. Priya knew at 19. Four people. Four completely different financial realities. And every single one of them fell into the exact same trap. Not a similar trap. Not a loosely related trap. The exact same trap, just wearing different clothes, depending on which decade they grew up in. Here is what the trap actually is. And before I name it, I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with being bad with money. Most of the people who fall into it are careful. They think before they spend. They genuinely believe they are doing the right thing. The trap is sneakier than that. At some point in every generation's story, the world around them defined what doing well was supposed to look like. A certain kind of asset, a certain kind of lifestyle, a certain kind of signal that said, I have made it. And without anyone sitting you down and explaining it, you absorbed it. It seeped in through your parents' conversations, your colony's gossip, your office colleagues' choices, and the culture you grew up in. And when you could finally afford to live that version of success, you did. It felt like the natural next step. It felt responsible. It felt like progress. That feeling of doing the right thing is exactly what makes the trap so hard to see from the inside. Let us go back to Ramesh. He grew up in post-independence India, watching his parents worry about money every single month. Savings accounts, cash under the mattress. Never trust the market. That is gambling. Never trust someone with your money. They will run away with it. The memory of partition, of scarcity, of sudden loss ran through that entire generation like a current. So when Ramesh started earning, the signal of safety was clear. Government job, fixed deposits, LIC, gold, a house. These were not bad choices in the 1980s. FD rates actually touched 13% in the early 1990s, which made them genuinely excellent investments at the time. And gold has always been the Indian middle class's inflation hedge, the one asset a family could touch and trust. But here is where it became a trap. Ramesh put everything into physical and illiquid assets. The house, the plot, the FDs locked away, the LIC policies that paid out in maturity, value he never properly calculated. He did not understand that inflation would eat through FD returns once rates normalized. He did not know that the Nifty 50 was available to him, that from 2004 to 2024, it delivered a verified CAGR of 12.92% annually. He is 67 now, and almost his entire net worth is locked in assets he cannot easily access or spend. The land has legal disputes. The house has no buyers at the price he expects. The FD maturity amounts are modest. He's not poor, but he is not free either. The home was not the trap. The belief that the home and the FD were the complete plan, that was the trap. Sunita's trap was quieter. Gen X in India came of age just as liberalization arrived. The 1990s, the opening of the economy, the MNC culture, the sudden availability of everything that had not existed before. Credit cards, foreign brands, a career that could actually pay you what your talent was worth. Sunita's generation was the first to earn really well in the private sector, and they did earn. But here is what happened. Every time Sunita got a raise, and she got several, her life expanded to match it. Got a promotion at 32, upgraded the car. Hit a good package at 38, moved to a bigger flat in a better locality. Kids started school, added the international school fees. Each decision made perfect sense in isolation. She could afford it. She deserved it. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is the most invisible wealth destroyer in the Indian professional class. The problem was never that Sunita spent money. The problem is that her expenses grew at almost exactly the same rate as her income. The gap between what came in and what went out barely moved, just at a higher number. At 51, she looks financially successful. She has equity in her flat. She has assets. But she's 8 years from 59, when EPF withdrawals make most sense, and the retirement math is tighter than it should be for someone who has been earning well for 20 years. The arrival signal for her generation was lifestyle. Nice things, nice experiences, a life that looked like success. And Sunita delivered that signal every month on salary credit. Now Arjun. And if you're a millennial watching this, hear me say this first. The system did move against your generation in India, in ways that were genuinely not your fault. The 2008 crisis hit, just as many of you were starting out. Then COVID wiped out years of progress, right when some of you were finally building momentum. Property prices in metro cities doubled, and then doubled again, making the traditional arrival signal, owning a home, feel completely out of reach. That is real. That matters. But here is the trap millennials walked into, and it makes complete sense given everything they lived through. When you cannot afford the things that used to signal arrival, you start spending on the things you can afford. And for urban Indian millennials, that meant experiences, travel, food, concerts, subscriptions, convenience, and the culture backed this completely. Spend on experiences, not things. YOLO. You cannot take money to the grave. Every brand, every influencer reel, every friend group normalized this. And it felt like enlightenment compared to the golden FD conservatism of the previous generation. Arjun spent his late 20s and early 30s racking up beautiful memories. But at 36, he has very little actually invested. No property. And an anxiety about the future that he manages by booking the next trip or opening a new delivery app. The trap was not spending on experiences. The trap was using experiences as a substitute for building assets and having an entire cultural movement tell him that was actually the wise thing to do. And then there is Priya. Priya is genuinely the most financially aware 23-year-old in her family's history. She knows what a SIP is. She knows what index funds are. She talks about CAGR in casual conversation. She started investing at 19, compared to her mother, who started at 40. By every measure, she has broken the pattern. Except she has not. Not completely, because Gen Z in India has a new version of the trap. And it is the most visible one ever created, because it lives entirely on the internet. The arrival signal for Priya's generation is not a house or a lifestyle or a stamp-filled passport. It is an aesthetic. The right phone, the right sneakers, the right cafe in the right part of town that photographs well. The Stanley Cup, the mini projector, the premium skincare brand that your favorite creator uses. Research shows 60% of young India's purchase decisions are influenced by short videos and social media. And here is the cruel twist. Priya is doing this while simultaneously investing. Her SIP is 1,000 rupees a month. She posts about it. She's proud of it, and she should be. But she's spending significantly more than that on things whose primary function is how they look on her feed. The trap for her generation is not ignorance. It is performance. Knowing the right language but using it to perform wealth rather than build it. Posting about financial freedom while the actual numbers stay small. So 4 people, 4 decades, 1 trap. What does it look like to escape it? The people who stepped around this trap in every generation did one thing differently. They separated the signal from the substance. They decided consciously that they were willing to look slightly less wealthy than they actually were, so that their actual wealth could grow faster. They delayed the costume. Ramesh's version would have been, keep the house, but also build an equity SIP from 1995 onward when the market opened. Do not put everything into one illiquid asset. Sunita's version, pick one lifestyle upgrade per raise, Put the other half into investments before lifestyle inflation can claim it. Arjun's version, 1 trip a year instead of 4. Take the money saved and put it into an index fund every month without thinking about it. Because 12.92% compounding does not care how beautiful your Instagram looks. And Priya's version, she still has every advantage in the world to do this, is to make the investing the thing she posts about. Not the aesthetic. To build the actual number faster than she builds the look of the number. The rule, if you want one, is this: assets first, lifestyle second, every time. Not forever. Just until the assets are doing enough work that the lifestyle is genuinely funded by what the money generates, not by the salary that disappears every month. Ramesh, Sunita, Arjun, Priya. None of them are bad with money. None of them are stupid. They all just did what their generation told them arrival was supposed to look like, and they prioritized looking arrived over actually being arrived. So here is the question I want to leave you with, and I genuinely want you to sit with it. Which version of the trap are you in right now? Is it the FD and property that holds all your net worth with no liquidity? The lifestyle that expanded to match every pay rise? The experiences that felt like living but quietly replaced building? The aesthetic that performs wealth without quite creating it? Tell me in the comments. Not to be judged, but because the first step out of any trap is being able to name it out loud. And if this hit close to home, if you saw yourself in Ramesh, Sunita, Arjun, or Priya, please give this video a like. It takes you 2 seconds and it helps this reach someone who genuinely needs to hear it. Share it with one person in your life who is stuck in the same trap. Your friend who keeps booking trips instead of investing. Your colleague who upgraded their car the month they got a raise. Your sibling who posts about SIPs but spends on aesthetics. One share from you could change how someone thinks about money for the rest of their life. And subscribe if you're not already. I put out honest, research-backed money conversations every week. No fluff, no fake numbers, just the truth about how money actually works in India. Now go watch my video on the 10 things most Indians are still wasting money on every month without even realizing it. Because I promise you, at least one of those things is quietly feeding the trap you're currently in. The link is right here. I will see you in the next one.